Good Tuesday morning. Thank you for being with us here on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get to your headlines. We are live in our nation's capital as the longest partial shutdown in history drags on. Now President Trump is asking lawmakers to come back to D.C. to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. Meanwhile, airports are returning back to normal as TSA agents start getting back pay. Audrey Russo's at MSP with the latest.
Yeah, the lines are short as they have been pretty much throughout the entire partial government shutdown. Obviously, the case was different at other airports around the country, but that executive order giving TSA workers 45 days of back pay really is just a temporary fix. Now, President Trump's version of a long-term solution would be to eliminate the legislative filibuster and pass DHS funding without any Democratic votes. That's a pathway that Senate Republicans are a little hesitant to take. So where do things stand right now? Well, the Senate Majority Leader says he's not going to call lawmakers back from Easter recess until he has a plan that he's sure will pass. Now, you can see from this video from the past 24 hours, long lines at airports around the country are starting to improve. DHS confirms most TSA agents received at least 2 full paychecks yesterday. But the legislative break is 2 weeks long, and TSA workers stand to miss more pay if DHS isn't funded soon after lawmakers return.
People will look at this and say, do I want to be in federal service?
It's going to hinder recruiting. People are not going to want to take the job.
Now, it's worth noting that while this executive order gave TSA workers their back pay, there are still other agencies within DHS where the employees aren't getting paid. That includes FEMA, cybersecurity workers, and civilians in the Coast Guard. Back to you.
Today, another suspect in the Feeding Our Future fraud scheme will be sentenced. This comes after one of the first defendants to plead guilty learned his fate, apologizing to the court for his actions. Abdul Abu Bakar Ali told the judge he let down a lot of people by participating in the Feeding Our Future scandal, and he promised to, quote, attempt to fix it for the rest of my life. Ali admitted to working with a shell company to defraud the federal pandemic meals program out of $3 million. Ali was sentenced to 1 year behind bars. This morning, gas prices are topping $4 nationwide, the highest since 2022. Right now, both sides in the Iran war are hitting oil and gas targets. Now, President Trump is threatening Iran's civilian energy and water infrastructure if the country doesn't agree to a deal. Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
Hi there. We saw a new example overnight of the kinds of attacks driving energy prices up as a Kuwaiti tanker laden with oil was hit by a drone in a port in Dubai. Iran has been seeking to spread the pain of the war throughout the global economy. New images of war showing overnight explosions in the Iranian city of Isfahan and undated U.S. military strikes on Iranian vehicles and aircraft.
We struck more than 11,000 targets.
That is, these new photos show a U.S. Air Force radar plane heavily damaged in an Iranian strike on an airbase in Saudi Arabia Friday. Several American service members were injured, according to 2 U.S. officials. The White House ramping up the pressure on Iran.
Their best move is to make a deal, or else the United States Armed Forces has capabilities beyond their wildest imagination.
That includes a threat from President Trump to target civilian infrastructure by obliterating Iran's power plants and oil wells and possibly water desalination plants if Tehran does not agree to demands by next week, including abandoning its nuclear ambitions. While on the Strait of Hormuz, President Trump said in a new post, U.S. allies should, quote, go get your own oil, saying the U.S. won't be there to help them anymore because he says they weren't there for us.
It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most.
And even as 3,500 additional U.S. troops arrived in the Middle East, President Trump insists great progress has been made toward a deal, revealing one of the Iranian officials he says the U.S. has been indirectly communicating with is the country's hardline parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf.
These folks are appearing more reasonable behind the scenes privately in these conversations.
Conversations Iran denies are happening.
Despite the buildup of U.S. troops in the Middle East, the White House says President Trump has not made any decisions about putting boots on the ground in Iran, a move that lawmakers in both parties have been clear they would want to weigh in on. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Right now, jury selection is underway in the trial of the man accused of stabbing Derek Chauvin. The former Minneapolis police officer is serving time for the 2020 murder of George Floyd. Prosecutors say John Tershak stabbed Chauvin 22 times with an improvised knife while inside an Arizona prison. He told FBI agents he wanted to hurt Chauvin because he is a high-profile inmate. Tershak pleaded not guilty. Right now, the Justice Department is suing Minnesota and the State High School League for allowing transgender athletes to compete in girls' sports and use girls' locker rooms. The lawsuit alleges Minnesota's Education Department and the MSHSL are violating Title IX. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the lawsuit targets flawed state policies that ignore biological reality. We have reached out to both the Education Department and High School League for comments. The High School League says it doesn't comment on pending lawsuits. This morning, a family is seeking answers in a Brooklyn Park man's disappearance. They're holding a vigil tonight in his honor, exactly 3 weeks after he was last seen. Megan McPherson's at the live desk with more on this case.
They last saw him the night of March 10th when he left home with a friend. You can see Jonte here in this Ring doorbell footage that was from that evening. And his family says right now they're holding on to hope and focusing on keeping his spirit alive.
We're coming together and love and light with positivity, and we want to spread positive messages and just keep happy memories alive. We don't want to speak as if he's gone.
At some point after Jonte and his friend left that night, the family says they got into an altercation. Brooklyn Park police say Jonte was last seen near Maryland and 70th Avenues. Now you can see in this photo he was wearing 2 gold chains. And his brother tells me officers came to the family's home to check on him and began searching, but Jonte never came back. The Minnesota BCA sent out a missing persons alert for Jonte 2 days later, classifying him as missing and endangered. And today is Jonte's birthday. He turns 27 years old. Anyone who knows where Jonte may be is urged to contact Brooklyn Park Police or Hennepin County Dispatch. And we do have both numbers and more information posted in an article on our website, kare11.com. Back to you.
Megan, thank you. Developing this morning, we're learning another Minnesota lawmaker was in the car when Republican Representative Elliot Engin was arrested for drunk driving last week. According to a new police report, Representative Walter Hudson was also in the car. Officers say Hudson also appeared drunk and was carrying a gun. Now, he did have a valid concealed carry permit. Hudson wasn't arrested or charged. That report also reveals new details about Engin's arrest, including a bottle of alcohol found in a child's car seat. So in a statement, House Speaker Lisa Demuth told us, quote, "The decisions made in this incident were unacceptable and fall short of the expectations I have for conduct of legislators. I will be addressing this directly with both members involved." New updates this morning in former state Senator Justin Eichhorn's federal trial. A judge says he'll now head to court in June. His trial was originally set to start yesterday, but the judge agreed to delay it because of a scheduling conflict with his attorney. Eichhorn was arrested last year and charged with soliciting sex from an undercover detective posing as a 17-year-old girl. He has pleaded not guilty. New drone video this morning shows just how close a fast-moving wildfire came to a neighborhood in western Minnesota. So this all happened Saturday, about 3 hours from Lake Benton, when much of the state was under red flag warnings, in part because of those high winds. The sheriff's office shared this video showing 130 charred acres stopping right before a home. The owner's surveillance camera picked up the flames and said she had mere seconds to get out.
But had I not smelled the smoke and I would have been downstairs, it would have been too late. It came that fast. That fire came that fast. So yes, I feel very fortunate to be alive.
Now, the sheriff's office doesn't know what caused the fire, but says it likely wasn't started on purpose. Wildfire season usually runs until early June, and the DNR says there are still burning restrictions in place. Developing this morning, St. Paul police say an attempted copper theft led to a massive fire on Sunday night. Take a look at the explosion right there at the top of your screen. Police tell us someone was trying to steal copper cable from an underground vault at the former Sears parking lot. That caused the power to surge and some power lines to fall along Western Avenue on either side of I-94. One line falling on a parked minivan that caught fire. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and police say no arrests have been made yet. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up right after the break.